I never planned to come back here. Not after everything that happened in this house. But when the rain started falling that night, slow, steady, the kind that seeps into your bones, I found myself standing under the porch light, key in hand, watching water slide down the door I used to run through as a kid. It still smelled the same. Damp wood, dust. A faint trace of my mother's lavender cleaner, long faded but somehow still clinging to the walls. I told myself I was only here to pack things up, to close the place for good. But the storm was getting heavier and the power flickered as I stepped inside. That's when I heard it. A soft dragging sound above me. Right where the attic was, I froze, because I remember locking that door 20 years ago, and no one ever went up there again. The power went out halfway through the hallway. Only the faint blue of lightning spilled across the walls, showing the old staircase leading up to the attic hatch. That door. I used to avoid it as a kid. It always stuck halfway open, like it was breathing. My father nailed it shut after the noises started. But now the nails were gone. Every single one of them. I hesitated, the rain thundering harder on the roof. The air smelled of wet plaster and something else. Something old, like metal rusted from the inside out. I reached up, pulled the cord. The ladder dropped with a groan that echoed through the whole house. When I looked up, the darkness seemed thicker than it should be. The air felt heavier, colder, and for a second, I thought I saw a shadow move against the far wall, but the flash of lightning took it away before I could be sure. I told myself it was just my imagination, just old wood settling, just the storm. But as I climbed, the whisper came again, right beside my ear this time. Don't open it. The attic was smaller than I remembered, or maybe the darkness made it shrink. The beam from my flashlight cut through the dust. Tiny flakes dancing like ghosts in the air. Boxes, old trunks, a broken rocking chair. The smell of mildew and paper so old it felt fragile just to breathe near it. I crouched beside a stack of boxes marked 1970, 1982. Inside were photos, faded Polaroids of people I half recognized. My mother smiling, my father standing stiff beside her, but in the corners of the frames always a blur, a figure just out of focus. Then under a pile of yellowed newspapers I found something heavier, a wooden chest, dark and slick with age. On the lid, scratched letters read, F. Miller, 1978. I didn't know anyone by that name, not in our family. I brushed the dust off the latch. It was cold, almost wet, like it had been touched recently. The air shifted. That's the only way I can describe it, like the attic exhaled. Somewhere behind me, the rocking chair moved once, just once. I turned the flashlight toward it, but it had stopped. The only sound left was the rain. I told myself I'd come back to the chest later. But as I stepped down the ladder, I swear I heard the faint scrape of metal opening, all on its own. I didn't sleep that night. The rain had turned softer, steadier, like a heartbeat under the ceiling. I sat downstairs on the couch listening. Old houses make sounds, I kept telling myself. Wood expands, pipes hum. That's all it was, but then I heard it again, 3 knocks, not random. Not the rhythm of a pipe or a branch. Each one matched the beat of my own pulse, perfectly timed. Thump, thump, thump. I froze. It came from above me. From the attic, I tried to ignore it, turned up the TV, but the sound came again, louder this time, sharper, like something or someone was trying to get my attention. I climbed the stairs halfway, flashlight in hand. The house was completely dark except for the faint blue from the lightning outside. Hello? I called out. My voice cracked. Nothing. Just rain and the soft hum of wind through the vents. Then came a single tap, so close it made the air vibrate. Right on the ceiling above me, and then faintly through the rain and the stillness I heard it. A whisper, like breath sliding between the boards. You hear me now? The next morning I went back to the attic. The air was thick, heavy with that smell of old paper and wet insulation. I wanted to prove to myself that the knocking was just the storm. But near the wooden chest I noticed something half buried under a torn blanket. A cassette recorder, one of those boxy ones with physical buttons covered in dust but still intact. The tape inside was labeled in shaky handwriting, "Play when it rains." At first all I heard was static, Then, rain. The same rhythm. The same soft, hollow drops echoing like they were falling right above my head. But this wasn't just any rain. There was a voice behind it. So quiet I almost missed it. "Don't open the trunk," I froze. The voice, it wasn't male. It wasn't female either. It sounded layered, like several people whispering the same words in unison. I stopped the tape. The attic went dead silent. And that's when I realized something that made my stomach twist. The rain outside had stopped hours ago. And yet, the tape kept playing. Still raining, still whispering, just louder now. That night I couldn't shake the sound of the tape. Even after I unplugged the recorder, even after I put it in a box downstairs, I could still hear it. Not loud, just faint enough to make me wonder if it was really there. The same whisper crawling between the raindrops outside my window. Don't open the trunk, I told myself. It was stress, grief, the kind that sneaks into the quiet hours after midnight. But the voice grew clearer whenever I tried to ignore it. It started saying my name, not shouting, not demanding, just saying it softly like a memory trying to remind me of itself. I pressed my hands over my ears, but it didn't help. The sound wasn't outside. It was inside the room with me. And the strangest part, it was breathing. I turned on the lights, tore the box open. The recorder was gone. In its place, there was water, pooling inside the box, dripping steadily onto the floor. I looked up. The ceiling above me was dry. The sound was coming from the attic again. By morning, the box was empty. No recorder, no tape. Just the faint smell of something burnt. Plastic, maybe. Or hair. I searched every room, every drawer, but I found nothing. Until I turned the corner into the living room and heard it. The recorder was sitting on the table. Playing. I didn't press play. I didn't even touch it. But the tape was rolling. The voice came through, clearer this time, and it was mine. Same tone, same breath pattern, same stutter on certain words I've always hated hearing in myself. "He's back in the attic." I rewound it, hands shaking, and listened again. Same words, same voice, but when I slowed it down, there was something else underneath, a second layer, like someone whispering with me just half a second out of sync, and then a laugh, quiet, wet, not human. I yanked the tape out. The reel inside was wet, soaked, like it had been submerged in water. My fingers came away cold. The rain outside stopped completely. But the static didn't, it was still there. Inside the walls. Inside me. I thought maybe I'd imagined it all. That's what I told myself over and over. But imagination doesn't leave fingerprints. When I went back up to the attic the next evening, the flashlight beam caught something I hadn't seen before. A small, torn photograph pinned beneath the rocking chair leg. I picked it up. It was a family photo. My mother, my father, and a small child between them. Me. But someone had scratched my face out completely. Not with a pen. With something sharp like a nail or a piece of wire. I checked the boxes. Every single picture had been ripped the same way. Each face gone. Each smile carved out. And on the back of one, written in water-stained ink, were the words, "You forgot me." The letters bled into each other, ink running like veins across the paper. I could almost smell the dampness still clinging to it. That same smell of the old rainwater inside the box where the tape had been. A droplet hit my hand. Then another. I looked up. The ceiling above the chest was leaking. A slow pulse of water forming a dark spot. But the forecast had said the storm had passed hours ago. And in the brief silence between drops, I heard a sound I hadn't heard since childhood. A low humming. The tune my mother used to sing when she thought no one was listening, only this time. The voice was coming from inside the chest. It had been 3 nights since I found the tape, and each one felt longer than the last. That night I dreamed of the attic. It wasn't like I remembered. The space was larger, endless almost, stretching into the dark like a tunnel. The rain didn't sound like rain anymore. It sounded like breathing, slow and heavy, filling the air in and out of rhythm. I walked toward the sound, my footsteps muffled on the wooden floor. In the dream, there was no ladder, no door, only the chest standing alone in a pool of light. The lid was open this time, and sitting inside it was me, not a reflection, not a copy. Me, pale, smiling, whispering the words over and over. "It's okay now. You remember?" I wanted to wake up, but every time I turned, the sound of rain got louder, closer, until it was roaring inside my skull. Then my other self started laughing. The sound echoed like feedback through an empty hallway, too loud, too human. I screamed and everything went black. When I opened my eyes, I was lying on the floor by the couch downstairs. The rain had stopped, but the laughter was still there, muffled, faint, drifting down from the attic, and on my chest was a piece of wet paper, just 2 words. Wake up. It started with a single drop, just one, falling somewhere above my bed. I stared at the ceiling, half awake, half still inside that dream I couldn't shake. The spot where the water hit was the same spot I used to hear footsteps when I was little. I told myself it was just another leak. Old house, old roof. But when I turned on the light, the ceiling was dry. No stain, no crack. The sound was still there though, drip, drip, drip. Steady, patient, too rhythmic to be random. I climbed the ladder, flashlight in hand, and pressed my palm against the wood. It was cold, and then I felt it move, not the house, the ceiling. It shifted almost imperceptibly, as if something behind it had taken a shallow breath. I stumbled back, the ladder creaking behind me. The air felt heavy, wet, humming with static I couldn't see. And then I noticed it. The dark spot above me wasn't spreading. It was pulsing. Each pulse matched my heartbeat exactly. The drip followed half a beat later. Drip, thump, drip, thump. It was like the house was breathing with me. I whispered, "Stop." And it did. Everything did. No rain, no sound, no heartbeat. Then a single drop fell onto my face, warm, not cold. And when I wiped it away, it wasn't water, it was warm, thick, not water. I couldn't stay downstairs anymore. Every drop of rain sounded like a voice now, muttering, calling, whispering things I didn't want to understand. So I grabbed the flashlight, the one I swore I'd never use again, and climbed toward the attic. Each step groaned like it remembered me. The ladder shook. The air got colder with every rung. When I reached the top, I hesitated. That same smell, wet wood, metal, and something like burnt hair filled the air. The light flickered once, twice, and then I saw it. At the far end of the attic, in the dim beam of my flashlight, something was standing, not moving. Just waiting. It looked like me. Same face, same posture, same clothes, except its skin was pale, grayish, like it hadn't seen sunlight in years. I said, "Who are you?" It didn't answer. Then it smiled. The light flickered again, and suddenly it was gone. I swung the beam around. Nothing. Only the chest, and on top of the chest, the tape recorder, playing my voice. Over and over I stepped closer. The air was thick with static. I could barely breathe. Then from behind me that same voice spoke, and not from the recorder, from the dark. Right next to my ear. "Now you see me." I wasn't sure if what I'd seen was real anymore. Maybe I'd never left that attic at all. The chest sat there, unchanged, ordinary, but every instinct in me screamed to leave it alone. I'd heard the warnings. The voice in the tape, the one that sounded like me, still. My hands moved on their own. The metal latch was damp, colder than ice. When I lifted it, the air inside the attic shifted again, like the room had been holding its breath. I told myself I'd just look, just see what was inside, then close it forever. But when I opened the lid, there was no light, no shadow. Just darkness, thick, solid, alive. Then something inside moved. The smell hit me first, wet soil, mold, and something metallic like rust and blood. And there, lying at the bottom, was a tape recorder. The same one. Still playing, only this time it wasn't whispering. It was screaming. I leaned closer, trying to understand the words between the distortion. And then through the noise I heard it, clear as if someone had pressed their mouth against my ear. "Now you remember." I looked down again. The tape was spinning, but there was no tape left on the reel. It was just air, and in that silence I realized the voice wasn't coming from the recorder. It was coming from inside the trunk. Something cold brushed my wrist. Fingers. Mine. I saw my own hand reaching up from inside the darkness, pulling me closer. And then, everything went quiet. When I opened my eyes, I was on the floor. The attic light was off. Everything smelled of dust and static. For a moment I thought I'd fallen asleep. Dreamed the whole thing, until I realized the recorder was still playing. No voice this time. Just the sound of rain. But it wasn't raining anymore. The air was still. Completely still. And yet the sound of rain kept echoing from the speaker, as if the house itself refused to stop remembering. I picked it up. The play button was jammed, pressed down hard. On the bottom of the recorder, carved faintly into the plastic, was a name I hadn't noticed before, F. Miller, my handwriting. And in the thin reflection of the metal surface, I saw a face looking back. My face on but older, paler, eyes hollow. It spoke without sound, mouth-forming words I already knew. I told you not to come back. Then, from the speaker, my voice began to play again, the same one from before, trembling, desperate. He's back in the attic. He's back in the attic. Over and over, like a heartbeat. I looked down at my hands. They were wet, covered in something dark. The chest behind me creaked open on its own. Inside, nothing but a mirror nailed to the bottom. And in it I saw myself crouched, whispering into the recorder, replaying the same words for eternity. That's when I understood. I hadn't come home to clean the house. I'd come back because I never left. Somewhere deep inside the walls, the rain started again. Only it wasn't outside this time. It was inside me. I don't know how long I've been here. Minutes, hours, days, maybe. The light through the cracks changes color, but the sound never stops. Sometimes I think I'm still lying on the floor. Sometimes I think I'm standing in the attic watching myself sleep. It doesn't matter anymore. The sound connects them both. I tried to leave once. I went down the stairs. But every step echoed wrong, hollow, delayed, like I was walking into the sound, not away from it. I found the front door. It was open just slightly. Outside, the rain was falling, upside down, droplets rising from the ground back into the clouds. That's when I understood. I was inside the recording. Maybe every voice that ever echoed here became part of it. The rain just pressed play again. The tape never ended because I never stopped talking. Every whisper, every breath, every heartbeat was just another loop, recorded, replayed, worn thin. I can still hear my voice somewhere between the drops. Soft, tired, almost kind. Just rest. It's okay now. Just keep listening, and I do, because I don't know how to stop. Sometimes when the thunder rolls, I feel something pulling at me. A memory, a reflection, or maybe a door. I think if I open it again, I'll finally disappear. Sometimes when it rains like this, I still hear footsteps on the stairs, not heavy, just gentle, patient, like someone who knows the way. They pause outside the attic door. Sometimes they knock. Sometimes they whisper my name and I answer. Every time. Because maybe, if I keep answering, I won't fade completely. The rain keeps falling, washing through the floorboards, through my hands, through everything I used to be. I can't tell where I end and the sound begins anymore. Maybe that's how it's supposed to be. If you ever find this recording, don't stop it. Let it play. Let the rain keep talking. Because sometimes when the storm is quiet enough, you might hear me too. Up here, still waiting.